One of the biggest things that I've taken away through my meditation practice over the years is just this idea of correcting ourselves gently, correcting ourselves with compassion. A lot of times, whenever we make a mistake, we could be so self critical. We could put ourselves down, we can demean ourselves, we can reinforce this idea that maybe we're just not good enough and we're never good enough. And how I've learned this through meditation is when we're practicing, it's not about correcting ourselves as much as it's about being aware of what's happening. We'll try to keep ourselves grounded. It could be by putting our focus on our breath or putting our focus on a specific word or a mantra, however you want to put it. And whenever you find yourself drifting, whenever you find that you're not focused on your breath anymore, all of a sudden you're focused on what you're having for dinner the next night, you don't tell yourself, I'm horrible at meditation. I just can't do this. Why did I even try? You don't tell yourself that you're stupid. You don't tell yourself that you knew you could never do this to begin with. You don't do any of that. You just observe and you're just aware. My mind drifted. I'm going to bring it back. My mind drifted again. I'm going to bring it back. And it does not matter how many times your focus shifts. It's not an indication of who you are. It's just something we have to acknowledge and bring our awareness back with gentleness, with ease. And as I found myself doing that in my meditative practice, as I found myself ignoring more and more that little subtle thought that could even be underneath everything, that subtle thought of ambition and saying that you should be better, or disappointment because you had expectations for this specific practice, and because things aren't going according to the expectations that we just made up, now we're feeling frustrated. The more that I was able to let go of that underlayer of thinking and just consistently correct myself with kindness, correct myself without judgment, I found it easier and easier in my meditative practice. And as they say, your meditative practice is exactly that. It's just practice. It's getting us prepared for how we're going to conduct ourselves when we're away from sitting in our chair or sitting on a meditative cushion, because that's the real test. How can we take this out into the real world, into our day-to-day activities? And this is one of those examples of one of those things that I was able to carry away, whether I'm trying to do another personal endeavor, if I'm trying to do something for my family, if I'm trying to do something that's work related. If I found myself making mistakes, I didn't need that extra mind chatter, that bad friend that's over your shoulder that wants to use this as an opportunity to put you down or to tell you that you weren't ever good enough to begin with. All of these little things that chatter wants to do. No, it was just a matter of, okay, let me get back to what I'm doing. Let me course correct. And it's just this sort of gentle, kind of like the bumpers at the bowling alley, right? We're just kind of getting everything back in order so that we could be focused on the direction that we want to go in. And it's a great thing to cultivate. You're not going to be perfect. You're always going to have your moments, but it is something that develops And I personally find that it's something that gets stronger over time. And the reality is, if you just want to look at it in its most practical sense, it's the most beneficial mindset for you to have. I actually just so happen to have this book, Self Compassion, and this is by Kristen Neff, and it's a very good book. I do recommend it. And one of the lessons that she teaches in this book is that when we're tough on ourselves, it actually has diminishing returns. We're always thinking about this concept of tough love and keep it real, kick somebody in the ass with the truth. And the reality is, yeah, that could be motivating. I mean, I have coaches, right? Sales managers. When I did martial arts, I'd have instructors that were tough and would tell you often what you didn't want to hear. And I never found anything specifically wrong with that. The problem is you could only do it for so long. You could only say, get going, get in the game, where's your head at, what are you doing, you need to be better than that. After a while, you're just not going to get the same impact. Whereas if you are treating yourself with kindness, it's going to enhance as you implement it. The more you tell yourself that you can do this, the more you understand that all the negative chatter is just something that your mind is populating and nothing that we have to latch on to and take seriously. The more we could just cultivate ourselves the way that we would any other living entity, a child, an animal, a plant. If you're trying to train your pet to do a new trick and the animal doesn't do it, you're not harsh on the animal. You don't scream or, for heaven forbid, kick the animal, right? No, you nurture it with care and love, and you correct and you do it gently, and eventually the animal will start to understand what the process is here, what it is that we're trying to accomplish together. And of course, you yourself are no different. You'll grow much further with self-love than you ever could by being extremely hard on yourself. And there's many ways to do it, but it's definitely something that I learned through a meditation practice, because you're going to get a lot of opportunities to see where it is you need to make this correction when you're meditating, because your mind is going to want to drift every second. Sometimes it feels like we'll have moments where you're enjoying a nice silence, but more often than not, your mind wants to go here, it wants to go there, it wants to check out the past, it wants to check out the future, it wants to tell you what's good about you, it wants to tell you what's bad about you. You're going to have things that you may not have even thought about in years, and all of a sudden it's like, really, you want to pop up now? Your mind's going to do all these little tricks, so it's going to give you plenty of opportunities to just say, oh, I drifted. Let me just bring myself back to my focus, to my awareness, and move on without the judgment and without being overly self-critical. So, lesson that I'm always carrying with me. Wanted to share that with you guys. I appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you in the next video.